Hello then, thank you for joining us from wherever you may be. We're live from our studios here in Kokomlimle on digital address GA09925339. Our top stories this hour. Government sets up special committee under the office of the senior minister to ensure a safe reopening of schools as the due date inches closer. We hear from the education minister as he lays down the guidelines. In coalition of domestic election observers push for inclusion of the existing voter ID cards in the re-registration process for a new card after a CI established as law, passports and Ghana cards are the only document accepted for registration for the new voters ID cards. We have a detailed interaction with Kodeo this afternoon. And police in the Ashanti region gunned down two suspected armed robbers who they say engaged them in a gun battle. We hear from police in the region as one of their men is caught in the crossfire and injured. We're live on your digital television, also on DSTV channel 421, GoTV 144. Remember, we're streaming live on YouTube on our channel. Meet us there. You can also send us your thoughts on 05401109009. That's 054109009. This is The Pulse. I am Gifty Ando up here. Please be my guest.
The Pulse is brought to you by
Stop Cough from Ernest Chemists.
Welcome. Let's start the show from the seat of the legislature. The minority in parliament says Ghana has become a police state in which free speech is being clamped down upon by the executive, citing yesterday's arrest of Apostle Kwabena Owusu-Adjei as one example. Addressing a media briefing in Parliament House, ranking member on Parliament's Defence and Interior Committee, James Agalga, condemned the arrest, describing it as unlawful and unconstitutional.
Everybody is petrified. People have lost their voices because of the dictatorial manner in which President Akufo-Addo wants to adapt as his governance style of our country. All such attempts, with the greatest of respect, would have to be resisted and condemned in no uncertain terms. Only yesterday or so, we saw on social media horrific videos of Apostle Kwabena Adjei. He is alleged to have made certain inflammatory statements against President Akufo-Addo and the person of the chairperson of the EC, Jean Mensah. We don't support all manner of inflammatory statements that have the potential to undermine our peace and security. However, as a country that must abide by the tenets of the rule of law, as a country which adopted for itself a constitution known as the 1992 Constitution with a Bill of Rights provided for under Chapter 5, we think that the manner of arrest of the said apostle leaves much to be desired. Look, the arrest in every respect was unlawful. The arresting officers displayed a certain document which was supposed to be an arrest warrant. They never allowed the suspect the opportunity to peruse through the so-called arrest warrant. It was not even read to his hearing, assuming he couldn't even read. They were under an obligation to have read the said arrest warrant to the hearing of the suspect before effecting the arrest. We would also see in those horrific videos that the suspect was not even cautioned at all. He was whisked away, he was not searched, his house was not searched, and yet in subsequent videos, you would see the so-called national security operatives parade the suspect in a manner that is unacceptable, in a manner that violates his human rights. Remember that Article 19 of the Constitution clearly imposes a certain presumption on all suspects and arresting officers to respect the innocence of suspects until they are proven guilty by a court of competent jurisdiction. So we have time without number condemned the parading and display of suspects before the cameras. When you outcomes of trials, and yet that was what happened. He was spotted in the video holding substances suspected to be weed, and you could hear from the background the arresting officers making fun of the situation and making mockery of the suspect. These are worrying times for our country. In any case, what did the apostle say? The threats the apostle issued, as condemnable as they are not, statements made in isolation. The same prophet in videos that I have watched made similar statements in 2016, 2015. So what has changed? I think the government has chosen a certain path which is aimed at, intimidating people who can speak out in protest against the dangerous path they have chosen to take all of us. And so as the minority, we want to, in no uncertain terms, condemn and denounce the actions of the security operatives who effected the arrest of the apostle yesterday. The manner of the arrest is condemnable. We also want to state, without any equivocation, that in recent times, a number of invitations have been extended to certain political actors in our country. It started with Major Boachijan. All Major Boachijan said was that the conduct of the EC could spell doom for this country, and that could ignite a civil strife in our country, based upon his analysis of the existing political tensions in our country. How did the security agencies under the watch and leadership of President Akufo-Addo act? They immediately arrested Major Boachijan, cautioned him, extracted statements from him. Next was Bernard Mona, the PNC chairman. He made very similar statements. Bernard Mona admonished the EC that the path they were taking had the potential to degenerate into violence, and that if care was not taken, violence would erupt at the various polling stations across the country if the EC decides to compile a new voters register. The analysis Honorable Bernard Mona made immediately landed him in the grips of the police. Ladies and gentlemen, the point I am trying to make is that there appears to be some amount of selectivity when it comes to dealing with matters of this nature. We're all in this country when the Deputy General Secretary of the MPP, Nana Obiri Boahin, a former Minister of State at the Ministry of the Interior, threatened that if anybody attempts to disrupt the compilation of a new voters register, they will be beaten up mercilessly and even killed. These words came from the lips of Nana Obiri Boahin. How did the state act? As we speak, no invitation has even been extended to Mr. Obiri Boahin. Is it because he's the Deputy General Secretary of the MPP? That is the kind of selectivity I am talking about. And so we want to sound a word of caution to President Akufo-Addo that his credentials as a human rights advocate have diminished. It's nothing to write home about, and that his reputation is on the line. Look, a lot of things have happened in our country. Violence and mayhem was visited on innocent citizens during the Ayawaso West Wagon by-election. As we speak, the law enforcement agencies have not arrested and dealt with any single soul involved in the perpetration of the heinous crimes we saw during the conduct of the Ayawaso West Wogom by-elections. The kidnapping, and I don't want to say killings, because so far as I am concerned, the matter is inconclusive. The kidnapping of the 4 Takoradi girls still remains a mystery. Our security agencies have not been able to arrest and prosecute the perpetrators after we were assured that they would bring back the girls. And so when we see the security agencies spend a lot of time clamping down on political opponents because people decide to exercise their democratic rights, constitutional rights, and speak out against happenings that are likely to plunge this country into chaos, you go after such persons because you wield the coercive power of state. That is a very dangerous development that we must all take very serious note of. Ladies and gentlemen, I am very certain that the reasons why officers who are supposed to be professional in carrying out their duties, even when it comes to effecting arrests, can no longer be carried out in a competent and professional manner is because of the recruitment of hoodlums and party vigilantes, faithfuls into our security agencies. These individuals, it is important to note, don't have the background academic qualification to be enrolled in our security services. But due to their party affiliations, they are recruited into our security agencies. I've had occasion to address the media on this subject, how party apparatchiks have infiltrated our security agencies. We are now reaping the effects of the recruitment of unqualified persons into our security agencies. So, in a nutshell, procedurally, we're saying that what happened to the apostle is reprehensible, it is condemnable, and that no amount of intimidation would silence the voices of Ghanaians. We all adopted for ourselves a constitution. The president took an oath to protect that constitution. We want to invite President Akufo-Addo to make good the oath he took before this House. Even though we convened at the Independence Square, that was a parliamentary sitting.
James Agaga speaks for the minority on defense, on the Defense Committee in Parliament. They're listing a number of things that with which he believes the President Akufo-Addo has not upheld human rights over there. He talks about the arrest of the prophet. And then he also goes on to talk about Boachijan, the member of the NDC. He goes on to talk about Bernard Mona, a member of the PNC. And he says that there has been a selective justice ongoing. He refers that particular one to Nana Obri-Boahen, a member of the NPP, who he says has also mentioned or made comments that were similar to those of the people who have been arrested. He says that it all boils down to recruitment of persons who are not qualified enough to be in the security services. Joseph Opoku-Gakpo is on the ground in Parliament, and he'll be joining us to give us some more information on what has gone on so far, why we're here at the moment, what's all even going on in Parliament today. And when Joseph joins me, we'll get to know more of that. But Mr. Agaga has also been listing other things which he says government is engaged in a deliberate act to silence people who have been speaking out against it, and it's all in a way to cow the public, the populace into submission. He says, and you heard him at the end of that statement, that no amount of intimidation will silence Ghanaians. Let's go to Joseph Opoku-Gakpo right now, who joins me on the phone. Hello, Joseph. Joseph, if you do hear me, what necessitated this press? Right. What necessitated this press conference?
Mr. Yarega just makes the point that there is general insecurity in the country and that freedom of expression is actually being infringed on. And they, the minority, they are not happy with it. He serves notice that they will resist any such situations of infringement on freedom of speech and avoid turning the country into a police state, which is directly accusing President Akufo-Addo of indulging in. And so he called a press conference specifically to raise those concerns. And as I speak to you, the chairman of Parliament Defense and Interior Committee, who is also the NPP MP for Impraeso, a Champong, is addressing the media to respond to those earlier concerns that Mr. James Agalga made earlier in the day. He's been telling the media that the security agencies are just doing their job and they should be allowed to continue doing their job without anyone politicizing the things they do.
Body went to His Excellency, the former President of the Republic, President John Dramani Mahama, and took similar statements of him. This is work in progress, and it's a matter before the system. Additionally, our Deputy General Secretary of the political party, I belong to the New Patriotic Party, lawyer Nana Obri-Boahe, was also invited by the Criminal Investigations Department. He's also subjected himself. He went through the same process, and he's also been granted bail. Bernard Mona, the chairman for PNC, was also invited, also went through his statements, web taking, and also granted same bail as the earlier persons I have mentioned. For me, the interesting matter rests with Major Retired Boachijan, a commissioned officer of our Ghana Armed Forces, who knows and must know better, and who have had the opportunity of even going further to study law, should not be speaking the way he spoke. In his instance, the Criminal Investigations Department of our police service, because of his ill health and state, had to go to his home to take his statements, and the necessary rituals were performed. He was granted bail. So nobody is being invited. This constitution, which is giving me the opportunity to speak here, created all those bodies to ensure that you and I, our peace, our safety is assured, and the entire stability of this country is also maintained. So let us speak to the facts. If it is for a matter that concerns me, Seth Kwame Champon, and my competitor, my ranking member, we all belong to various ideologies, and we both belong to various political systems. Let us take away the state-mandated institutions that are supposed to secure our public safety, our stability, and peace for us. Don't let us draw them into nuisance. Don't let us draw them into any form of public banters. The important thing is that the gentleman was taking on his word of threats to the Electoral Commission chairperson. And the Electoral Commission chairperson has also been invited in a statement he's been taking. And so we are assuring everybody that the law will work and nobody should try to stampede the law, because that is why we all lined up and went and exercised our franchises to welcome a constitutional governance. And so if we are competing in governance and you have an issue with my take, let it be my take. Don't draw the public and this mandated state institution in our conversation. I think that is wrong. And quoting police personnel to be those who allegedly have planted a substance on the suspect is very, very much unfortunate, and that is not founded. I'm sure in the nearest future, when better and further particulars are subjected to by the security agencies, we will get to see where the matter lies. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm thanking you for your opportunity and for the time spent.
What to say is that what happened yesterday, the police moving in, arresting someone, throwing about a warrant of arrest without reading it to the individual, not reading out his rights to him, picking him up and taking him away. As chairman of the Defense and Interior Committee, is there absolutely nothing wrong with that?
No.
Backing the security agencies in a way that
I will defend every person that I have sworn to defend, the public and the state at large. in an operational theater, accidents do occur. And I will not stand in to say that whatever went wrong is right. But that should not be the single most important subject. The most important subject is that the stability of the state is what we require. The security of the state is what I seek. And the peace of the land is what I love.
You have a member of parliament who says he ordered the BNI and national security apparatus to go arrest the gentleman. And just after he was arrested, national security operatives filmed him, even interrogating him on the camera and splashed it all over on social media. You give thumbs up to that as well?
I am gladdened that you have raised this subject. That's an opinion from my colleague. And if you would mind, I said nobody, not even the president of the land, instructed the national security to go on that tangent. And mind you, the operations of the national security is through intelligence gathering. I'm sure my colleague would have been an informant at that stage if he's so seen as such. And so based on his intelligence he supplied to them, they're already on the path of going to secure the gentleman for the public safety of the land. So I'm not justifying anybody's actions. I'm just ensuring that the right things are done at the right time by the law and for the people of the Republic.
The issue of police planting weed on suspects, is it an issue that your committee will want to investigate?
I think it is a matter we have been waiting on the IGP to engage with in all that. Those are suspicions, but as far as I'm very much aware, this was not a plant by any security service. If you guys are minded, if you all watched the social media clips that are flying around, you would see that the guy had a pouch on him, he had a wallet on him. And I don't need to go further. The investigations will speak to itself. And I don't think anybody would take interest in planting substance on any other fellow. That will be criminal in its nature. And I think it is against our laws. It frowns the spirit of our constitution. Nobody should encourage that. And I do not encourage that.
My issue is that if the filming was done when they took him out of the premises where he was caught, from that onset, no search was conducted on him. Then the video came out later that he had a substance on him. I wasn't there, you and I weren't there, but with the information that you have. My issue is, does this constitute standard procedure for the national security to film suspects? And going forward, will this be the standard?
I'm sure you and I believe that today and at large society, it's difficult to really know who the originators of such videos are. And national security do not lay claim that they recorded that incident. I don't know who recorded that incident, and I wouldn't want to become the know-it-all and say that national security recorded that incident. I'm sure a person that was so minded and had interest in the very matter recorded the matter, and we would all wait for further investigation proceedings and information that comes out of this very particular matter.
Please, where is the suspect now?
Oh, the suspect is on police remand. They took him to court because after the arrest, he needed to go through the law court. So he went before court and he's been remanded in police custody for 2 weeks. So they would take him back to court. And so he's before the laws of Ghana and he's well kept. There are no issues to that.
Okay, so that is the chairman of the Defense and Interior Committee, Seth Echampong, speaking in Parliament. He is responding, of course, to the minorities press conference that they held earlier. I was telling you earlier that James Agaga, who is the minority spokesperson on the Defense and Interior Committee, was listing a number of things based on which the minority, believe that the country is becoming a police state. They believe that President Akufo-Addo is not handling affairs properly, and they list a number of things, including Boachijan, the arrest of Major Boachijan, Major retired Boachijan. They list Bernard Mona, who was organizing a vigil in honor of George Floyd, who was also arrested. And especially the focus of their discussion has been the prophet who was arrested yesterday by national security operatives. So the response by the Mr. Champong, who is the chairperson of the Committee of Interior and Defense, was that the security operatives are doing their jobs. There was no order from above for the said prophets to be arrested. He said that he has been taken to court and the due process will be followed. The issue that came up again was planting of evidence. And he also spoke about that. Joseph Opoku Gakpo is joining me right now from Parliament. Hi, Joseph. I was asking earlier what necessitated the press conference before the response by the majority even came up.
So the minority MPs make a case that they think the country's democracy is in danger and that things are getting out of hand with what they call the turning of the nation into a police state. That's the description that James Agalga, who is the ranking member on the Defense and Interior, gives to the situation. And according to him, as members of parliament whose responsibility it is to hold the executive to account, they would not sit down and allow these incidents to unfold. They list a number of them: the invitation to Major Retired Boachijan, that to Bernard Mona, who is the chairman of the PNC, that to journalist Kofi Adomangwangweni, and the incident yesterday involving the pastor are things that they say shouldn't be happening in a democracy. So Mr. Agalga and members on the minority side called a media briefing essentially to make the point that they are condemning all these invitations and arrests, and they are serving notice that as the people's representatives, they will do all they can to resist any attempt to turn the nation into a police state and any attempt to continue cowing Ghanaians into submissions. Those are some of the words that James Agalga and the members on the minority make. And so yesterday's incident is essentially what prompted this, with the minority MPs calling a media briefing and saying that they will take on the government and avoid any infringement on the rights of people. But what is clear is that even after the responses that are coming from the chairman of the Defense and Interior Committee, Mr. Champong, who is the NPP MP for Empire, so this is obviously not the last of it, because among others, Mr. Agalga, who is the minority spokesperson on Defense and Interior, said that they will be pushing for a probe into these incidents of arrest and what they think are excesses by the security agencies. And they say they are considering a number of options, including a parliamentary probe or other forms of probe, that they will take the necessary steps on the floor of Parliament to get those probes to come into being so that they can virtually get the security agencies to respect the human rights of people as they claim.
Joseph, tell us what else happened on the floor of Parliament today.
A number of things. Isaac Adongo, who is the minority MP, also on the Finance Committee, and the NDC MP for Bolgatanga Central, has also been speaking on the situation with Unipass and GCNet. He says that Ghana lost about 100 million Ghana cedis within a period of 3 days, getting to the end of April, because of the mismanagement, he says, of the transition process when it comes to the management of the port between Unipass and GCNet. And he says in a lot of places, including the Kotoka International Airport, revenues are not being collected because of the continuous hitches, and he thinks it's about time that GCNet is allowed to come back and run the operations with the revenue collection. Right on the floor of Parliament earlier in the day, there was a question that was supposed to have gone to the Health Minister by Roxin Dafiamekbo, who is the NDC MP for South Dai, asking for details on how much it cost the nation to actually establish the COVID-19 app, the tracker app. Deputy Health Minister Dr. Bernardo Koboy responded to the issues and said that the question had been directed to the wrong office and that it should have gone to the Communications Ministry and not the Health Ministry, and so he didn't have responses to that. Again, Mr. Dafiak Mopo wasn't happy, but that generated a bit of a conversation right on the floor of Parliament. And the final bit, the minority MPs had been raising questions that when they saw records of yesterday's proceedings, you recall the vote on the Subsidiary Legislation Committee's report on the CI for the Electoral Commission. Mr. Blakwa and Mr. James Aveji, the minority MPs, say that they saw that on record about 202 MPs were present yesterday, but only 198 of them voted, and they were concerned about how that ensued. The majority leader explained that a number of MPs were on the floor, but they left by the time the voting started, including Kennedy Ohinia Japong, the Ascent Central MP, and that shouldn't raise eyebrows. And eventually the Speaker also directed that this is not something that is out of place, and that people should respect the processes, and that it was a very good process that unfolded on the floor of the House that Parliament should be proud of. And so those have been some of the developments in Parliament earlier today. Gifty.
Joseph, I'll leave you to wipe off the sweat both on your face and on your neck. Well done, and thank you for that comprehensive report as usual. Joseph Opoku Gakpo is our Parliamentary Affairs correspondent who does a great job bringing us all the details from Parliament, so you are informed on what the people representing you are doing. From Parliament, I'll take you to the Ashanti region, where the police is blaming sections of the public for disturbing the scene of a crime where they engaged an armed robbery gang. Police say this could lead to the escape of some of the suspects. 2 members of a 6th armed robbery were gunned down by the police at Santasi, a suburb of Kumasi, after they engaged police in an exchange of gunfire. Police were following up on intelligence that the group was planning an attack on some residents there. The police then accosted them, resulting in that shootout. The Deputy Ashanti Regional Commander, DCOP David Ajim, told my colleague Ohim Interior of the Security Desk the presence of the public who came out of their homes to witness the shootout limited a police officer's ability to efficiently operate there. First, let's listen to DCOP Ajim on how the suspected robbers were tracked, and then we go live to Ohim Interior.
For questioning. These hoodlums were believed, based on our intelligence, were the persons who had earlier in the month or late last month carried out an operation at Manso Dadieso, where 3 persons were killed, including the driver of the DC.
So you are linking these 2 persons or the group to the Manso Dadieso incident. How? Why are you linking them to the incident?
My brother, if I said that based on intelligence, our intelligence indicated that they were the persons. We are going to do an identification, and after that we can be positive about, but our intelligence were strong, and we believe that they were the persons who perpetrated that crime.
Let's talk about last night's incident. We were told that the residents in the vicinity came out of their homes to catch a glimpse or witness the incident. How did this impact on the police operations?
It did greatly affect us because, but for that, we would have been able to arrest the ones who were fleeing. But because there were too many persons there, we could not do what was expected of us. And I'll take this opportunity to advise the general public that especially if you hear gunshots, please stay where you are, take cover, rather than come out, because the stray bullet can easily, and we are lucky that none of them was injured in the shootout. And so we would advise anybody that once you hear gunshots, stay put, take cover, and wait till things subside, because you could be caught in crossfire.
With the police officer who was hit yesterday, for instance, how is he doing?
Yesterday, immediately after the operation, he was rushed to the hospital, and as at this morning, he's stable, and so we are sure that he will be out of the woods soon.
I take a leave of you. Talking about robbery general in Ashanti region, how would you say has been the rate of robbery incidents in the region?
I think that you would bear testimony to the fact that since the last quarter of last year and, of course, the 2 quarters of this year, violent crimes have really gone down, especially armed robbery. The exceptions are a few car snatchings that we've had. But with those as well, we have been able to arrest some people. And of course, this group that were accosted yesterday were also believed to be part of the group that have been carjacking pickups. And so we are working on that, and we assure the public that we'll do our best to get rid of these miscreants in our midst. However, we can only do that if the public offer information. So again, I would plead to the general public that they should offer us information when they see things out of place. What we know is that mostly when these vehicles are snatched, they are parked at warehouses, abandoned places, fitting shops. And so when they see them, they should quickly inform us so that we can be on the scene.
That's Ohimin there interacting with the police in the Ashanti region on what happened. Let's go on live to Kumasi and speak to Ohimin Teria, who's joining me right now. Hello, Ohimin.
Hello, Gifty.
Ohimin, first of all, why is the police linking the suspects to the Manso Dadiase incident where the driver of the DCE for Mansia South was killed?
Thank you, Gifty. According to police, they have picked important evidence. These evidences they wouldn't want to go public with, linking the 2 people who were shot in yesterday's shootout in Santase to the Manso Dadiase incident. According to DCOP David Ajem, police have picked this information, and beyond the evidence that they have picked, they also want to carry out further investigations to identify the 4 others who managed to escape from the scene yesterday. So police are very sure that the evidence that they have, these people are connected with the Manso Dadiase shooting incident where a gold dealer was targeted and 3 other people were also killed.
It's becoming not a trend per se, but the last time we also did a story about a gold dealer who was not really arrested, but he got in between these people who were trying to dupe him of about 10,000 CDs who were essentially arrested. What is the police doing about some of these cases that are coming up in the region? Did they tell you?
Yes, the Deputy Regional Police Commander did say if you take a look at the number of robbery cases that have been recorded in the region since the last quarter of 2019 through to the first half of this year, it indicates that robbery cases have gone down drastically. But he's not also ruling out other crimes, especially with the re-emergence of car snatching cases in the region, where in the couple of months, a series of cases have come up, including the one that the snatchers had to trail the driver from Bono region all the way to Ashanti region, a spot at the National Cultural Center where the vehicle was snatched from the driver. But even then, police have managed to retrieve the vehicle and also arrest a buyer who bought the vehicle at a reduced price. So police say they are not resting on their oars, but they are doing everything possible within their powers to bring crime rates under control in the region. Yes, the DCOP Ajem said these are cases that once in a while you will hear, but that does not mean that the security in the region is out of control. But he says it has been brought under control since the last quarter of 2019 to the first half of 2020. Gifty.
Thank you, Heyman. But before you go, has anything changed on that shooting incident? Is there any new information coming up since the last time we spoke to you?
The new information we are picking from police is that police have strengthened their investigative department. They are doing everything possible to arrest the 4 others who they suspect received gunshot wounds in the shootout. So they are appealing to the general public, especially health facilities and herbal centers, to be on the lookout for people who may visit these facilities with gunshot wounds. And the crime scene management team have also been to the scene. They picked all the vital information, including the gun that were used. They've identified the guns as a SMS assault rifle, and then a foreign pistol with 18 ammunition altogether. And beyond this, they are comparing all these vital information that they have picked with the Manso Nkwanta incident, the spent shells that were picked in Manso, that Yase, and all that. And so they've also intensified the search. They have dispatched a team of police officers to also visit some of these health facilities and also trace and follow up leads that they have picked could lead up to the arrest of the 4 other suspects. Gifty.
I mean, thank you very much, and I'm sure that you'll be keeping this your eye on this particular story to update our viewers. Interior of our security desk, they're bringing us up to speed on a shootout incident that went on, police engaging some armed robbers, according to the police, that happened last night. This is the Pulse with me, Gifty and Up here. I'm going to take a very quick break, but when I return, we take a look again at the NPP primaries. We're listing the candidates and talking to them, especially those in controversial areas. And in these controversial areas, you have people who are contesting incumbent members of parliament for the same party. And that means that those people were not excluded from the list. If you know, the NPP has made a conscious effort to make sure that especially some of the incumbent MPs went unopposed. So we'll go to Takoradi and we'll be talking to one lady who is contesting the current member of parliament in these primaries. There she is. She'll be joining us when we return from this break. Welcome back to the show. Many thanks for staying with us. Now, we'll take a look at the NPP primaries. Now, I want you to text me, WhatsApp me. If you are you live in Takoradi, I want to hear from you. And especially if you're an NPP person who lives in Takoradi, I want to hear from you because we're talking about the Takoradi constituency. The number is 0540109009. So text us or WhatsApp us and let's see. So we continue in that series. We are looking into the backgrounds, the vision of some of the candidates contesting for the upcoming NPP primaries. So we will ask the candidates to share with you their vision, convince you to vote for them, not only in the primaries, but of course in the national contest too. So today we're in Takoradi constituency, like I said, in the Western region, where the Executive Director at the National Commission on Culture, Janet Edna Nyame, is contesting the incumbent Kwabena Otredako, who also doubles as the Regional Minister. Mrs. Nyame, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Can you hear me, ma'am? Okay, so you may have to unmute your Zoom. It looks like your Zoom is muted. That's why you cannot hear me. Let's try that and see if that works. So, like I said, I want to hear from you if you are in the Takoradi constituency, and especially if you are an NPP member. What is it that will influence your votes? We want to find out from her. What is it that she brings on board? What are the issues pertinent to her? And what is it that she wants to bring on board to change the constituency and make things better? Let me go through some of the messages that you sent to us as we wait to get her to fix the sound so we can hear her. Some of you have been sending messages on the NDC press, the minority, I should say, press conference that was held a while ago. It says, hi, Gifty. The NDC and their press conference almost on every issue every day is childish and very worrying. NDC is a huge problem for this country. Kofi sent that message from Hohoi. This one says, please, my own opinion on this issue of the arrested pastor. I think people should advise that our dear president to be careful of people working for him in different offices, starting from the security to the first security to the last security office. He should also remember that what goes around comes around. This one says, why did the national security video the man to the public? How do they know that the substance for the man is weed without laboratory approval? Do national security operatives arrest Kennedy, a Japan command, because he said something on a Sempa FM? I believe that the national security planted something. Well, Ortega is sending that message from Bantama. Ortega, that's the position as well that the minority holds, but it cannot be proven at the moment. Until it is proven, we cannot speak about it. Okay, so let's go to Madam Edna Nyame, who is joining us from Takrady. Hello, Mrs. Nyame. I can hear you, so do talk to us. And
Hello.
Let me start, right, thank you very much and congratulations.
Hello.
Some people, I hear you. Let me start by congratulating you. Some people did not make it. They were disqualified, but you have. And you are contending with someone no meaner person than someone who is also the regional minister. Let's start by you telling us who really are you, apart from being the executive director for the National Commission on Culture at the Ministry of Tourism. Who is Edna Nyame?
Thank you very much. Jane Edna Nyame is a former lecturer from the Takrady Technical University, a former dean of the Faculty of Applied Arts. Yeah. And then has been appointed currently as the Executive Director for the National Commission on Culture. I've contested this parliamentary seat for the third time. This is the third time, of course, twice with the incumbent Member of Parliament who doubles as the regional minister. So this is the third time I am contesting with him. And so many people think that maybe it's unbelievable. Why should you contest a regional minister, Member of Parliament? Of course, I started with him for the first time when she was coming. He was coming and I contested with him. So we've been there twice. This is the third time. So automatically, it's not been a new thing. We've been in the game. This is the third time. So I believe I'm going to beat him hands down this time around.
That was not a long time ago, the last time you contested with him, but he has won. What makes you think that someone who has been acclaimed by the people the people have acclaimed somebody like that they will let go of him and choose someone else, especially when you're both in the same party?
Oh, thank you very much. You know, we are all in the same party. We are, let's say, a family. And hence the democratic dispensation. If there wouldn't be any choice, there wouldn't have been the elections at all. So the fact that the party has thought it wise, put it in our constitution, that there should be elections every 4 years. That tells you that whether you are brothers, sisters, whoever, when the competition comes, there is the need for you to compete. So it makes no difference, of course. So the competition definitely, as I've said already, is coming on.
What are the key issues? And I need you to, if you can, mute the sound on the TV, because you can hear me from your phone. If you listen to me in the TV, it delays our interaction a little bit. So mute the sound on the TV so that we can just interact on the phone on Zoom. I want you to list for me, and I asked Michael Quaid Jr. the same question the last time he joined us on the show, to list for me the key issues, if you can just put them in about 3 or 5, the key issues that will influence your campaign, or that is driving your campaign. and how it addresses the problems of the people?
Thank you very much. First of all, you know, we are in a metropolis. We have a lot of youth here who are unemployed, especially the women, the teenage girls, and the youth. My major challenge is that all these people are our future leaders. What are we going to help them so that in the future they are not going to be a burden on the metropolis or on the citizenry? So my main concern is the youth employment, to ensure that those who have been able to complete their schooling and are not engaged, whether they will be in private sector or wherever, we ensure that they are well placed. And education as well. You know, this is of course the Takoradi though, but we have a lot of youth, dropouts, school dropouts, so that at least those who are not able to pursue their education will be put in a place in a learning of trades, getting them secured, and get them good jobs to do, so that they wouldn't be a burden on the society and the nation as a whole in future.
Okay,
so that is my first focus. Okay. The women.
We still need to see your face. We still need to see your face. So if you can push the phone back a bit so we can see your face, your constituents can see, the people of Takoradi constituency can see your face, and then you can continue with the point you're making.
During the first administration of the NPP, I worked very closely with the Ministry of Women and Children, now Gender Social Protection. So there was a lot that I did for the women, and I believe that I have to continue. After that time, there has been a gap, and I believe we have to come back to ensure that we empower the women, especially those in the informal sector, in the market places, so that they will be well off. As I said, be on their feet, be able to sustain the families and whatnot. So that has been one of my major challenge. Again, our party is a family. We need to live together as one family. But it appears I'm not seeing that in my constituency here. As a mother, I'm going to unite all the factions in the family. When we do that, we're going to make the party to be very attractive in the constituency. That is where we are going to attract more people to our side, hence enhancing our chances when it comes to the general elections. That is one of my priorities. And then the development of Takoradi itself. Takoradi is a well-structured city that has been well developed. We need to give it a beautiful touch. We need to give it a facelift to make it one of the best cities in Takoradi. Though as a member of parliament, I'm not a developmental agent, but with my influence and with the people that we have on the ground, the lot of companies around, our experts at the district assemblies and whatnot, we're going to put our heads together to ensure that the needed facelift is given to the metropolis, to make it look as one of the best cities in Ghana. These are some of my visions.
Okay, so I see three key things here. I'll have you reposition your camera so that we can see your face. The members in the constituency can see your face as well. So so do that for me. But I have some messages here. Some of you are sending in some messages. This one says it will be. Sorry, it says it will be a very big blow. Okay, Takoradi needs a new MP for better development, especially WAMCO. You don't add your name. Thank you for sending your message or all the same. This one says, as for me in Asante Achim Central, I'll vote for Kofi Usun Kansa for our road network. Okay, we are focusing on those who live in Takoradi, but thanks for sending your message. Takoradi, this one says, Takoradi needs someone who is a grassroots member, someone who has been PSE before. Delegates want someone who will unite the party. NPP Takoradi constituency has been divided. Our mother is the one who will do that and give the constituents good jobs. Okay, so some messages coming in there for you, Mrs. Name. Thank you very much for sending that message as well. Okay, this one says, okay. Yeah, He says it will be a very big blow for the incumbent Kwabena Ochredako-Mensah to win his seat back as a parliamentary candidate, because we, the members, do not get anything better from no employment, mismanagement of his common funds. Even his office itself is full of, he's full of weeds. From Maxi Berlin, New Takrady. Thank you, all of you in Takrady who are sending us messages. Mrs. Nyame, are you there? Okay, it looks like we lost her. Okay, we haven't lost her. There she is. We'll take her final words before we move on from there. I'll end with this message and then I go to her. My name is William. He says, I'm not really NPP or NDC fan. I just love Takrady. What I want to know is what she'll do different from what the incumbent Ochredako has done and is doing, because it looks as if the people of Takrady are in love with Ochre. Okay, so if you push the phone away so that I can see your face, then you can answer this question for me. Ms. Nyame. Someone is asking what you would do differently. Okay.
What I can do differently.
What you can do differently from what the incumbents.
There are so many things that we need. Okay. I've told you that Takrady is already developed city. We need to add a facelift to the place. Yes, indeed, the people are in love with Kobe, but they will be more in love with Edna. When I have I get the chance or the nod, the people are going to love me because of the way I am going to relate with them. Everything that we're going to do together with the people. So I'm not going to work in isolation, but definitely with all the people involved, to make sure that Takrady becomes a place for everybody to love and live to.
Okay, my final message from this text says, my name is Nana Kwame from Takwa Brenua Chim. I am solidly behind Auntie Edna. She shall surely win. Kobe must simply go. I want you to speak to the constituency. If you had the chance, 30 seconds to talk to them on why they should vote for you, what would you say?
Thank you very much. Takrady, we have ever had a woman MP. Now we have a male MP. When the late Mrs. Gladys Asma was there, we all saw what was happening in Takrady. The vibrancy, the buoyancy, the happiness in the party. Takrady delegates, vote for your mother, vote for me. For me to bring the buoyancy, the happiness, the joy that we used to have in the party in Takrady. And so that together, as already said, we'll put our heads together, work to build the party, to make it so sustainable, make it so attractive to the majority of the people, so as to increase our votes come the next elections.
Okay, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. I've been speaking to Jane Edna Nyame, who is contesting for in the NPP primaries, to be the member of parliament or to be the parliamentary candidate for the NPP in the upcoming elections. She is contesting with a sitting MP who is a member of parliament for the NPP, who also doubles as the regional minister. A tough one it is. She says she's looking at unemployment, women empowerment, development, among others, as the key things she's bringing on the table to change the story in Takrady. Well, I wish you all the best, Mrs. Nyame. As we go along, we'll be trying to get the other contenders as well. We've spoken to Michael Quay. We're able to have Adjosafo as well. We've spoken to Madam Edna Nyame. We're able to have the Member of Parliament, for the incumbent Member of Parliament as well. The Civil and Local Government Staff Association of Ghana says it will, in the next 2 weeks, embark on an industrial action if Smith fails to come up with acceptable payment of past credits to its current retirees. The Executive Secretary of CLOSAC, Isaac Bampo-Addo, revealed its members have received low credits contrary to directives by the National Pensions Regulatory Authority. The association is accusing SNIT of flouting the principles of transparency and accountability, as it says its retirees are being shortchanged.
We were overwhelmed with incessant calls and contacts from current retirees who have been paid exceptionally low pass credits by SNIT on its terms, instead of complying with the dictates of the National Pension Act 2008 and directives from the National Pension Regulatory Authority, NPRA. The relatively low pensions earnings under the SNIT pension scheme made public sector teachers and civil servants clamor to be placed on Cap 30. Beneficiaries under Cap 30 were receiving better retirement lump sum and pension earning. The intensity and substance of industrial actions during the early part of 2000 led the then Kufuor government to establish the Presidential Commission on Pensions. Primarily, the Presidential Commission on Pension was tasked to examine critically the two pension schemes, that is Cap 30 and SNIT schemes, as well as other schemes, and recommend a sustainable pension scheme that will address the concerns of workers. Consequently, workers within the public sector were assured of better pension earnings structured in a 3-tier pension scheme upon coming into effect of the National Pension Act 2008 at 766 as amended. Regrettably, SNIT has not transferred the past credits in its custody to the respective approved trusts who are enjoined by law to manage the Tier 2 funds. It is significant to note that, again, SNIT has not complied with implementation guidelines on the revised reporting templates for Tier 2 and Tier 3 schemes as per National Pension Regulatory Authority guidelines. Interestingly, SNIT is paying past credits that are part of Tier 2 funds without any approval from NPRA. The non-compliance of this directive from NPRA by SNIT is being looked on without any sanctions. To date, SNIT has continued to use its own unilateral decisions in paying past credits to our retirees. The forum objects to the actions of SNIT flouting the principles of transparency and accountability with impunity, leaving our pensioners with very little to go home with. These retirees are being short-changed. Within 2 weeks, if a proper and acceptable basis for payment of past credits is not arrived at, the forum would have no option than to ask its members to embark on an industrial action. This configurable go and die slowly past credits can no longer be countenanced by the forum.
Now, President of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association, Perpetual Foriampofo, so revealed that the meager amount received by her members is putting untold hardships on them.
For the past 4 years, we've had various engagements with the Minister of Employment and Labor Relations, with NPRA, with SNIT, with all those other stakeholders. And SNIT seems not to budge. SNIT seems not to be concerned. And we think that this shortchanging of these retirees is wrong. It is their own monies that we are talking about. As at the time when the pension reforms were instituted way back in 2010, the idea was that all those monies should have come into the new schemes. But SNIT at that point in time lobbied for the monies to stay with SNIT, and they were going to turn it over. By the time the people go on retirement, they will pay them. But least did we expect that it will get to this time and they will be paying them those kind of monies. So we want SNIT to come clear. They cannot unilaterally do their own computations and pay those kind of meager lump sums to the retirees. They should pay them their proper amounts of monies that are with them. And it's as simple as that. I'm sure you hear from your health workers who are retired. Yes. Tell me, describe the pain they go through on a daily basis. I had a call from one of our regional constituents, regional executives, and he said one woman received her money from SNIT and she collapsed. Yes, that's a nurse, a retiree. She collapsed. And When she regained consciousness and she tried to reach the union, they now explained to her that no, that is not all. You take that one from SNIT, and then you come and take the rest also from the health sector occupational pension scheme. And that will give you your bulk lump sum. For your monthly pension, SNIT will continue to pay you your monthly pension. So these are the realities. And we can show you, those who have gone on retirement, what SNIT has paid them as their past credits, and as against what the schemes per our computations are going to pay them.
Now let's talk about climate action. GCIC has turned, he has turned the community wastewater treatment plant into an aquaculture facility that's breeding fish, which is safe for consumption. This process is saving the environment whilst ensuring food security. That is the story of Trimark Aquaculture Company, a fish farming company, using innovative ways of mitigating the impact of climate change. So this is part of the JoyNews Climate Focus project, which highlights the work of entrepreneurs whose innovations will help combat climate change. It is brought to you by the Ghana Climate Innovation Center, GCIC. Joining us via Zoom is Makiebwa Ejapong, who is the founder and center director for Trimark Aquaculture Center, as well as Dan Abebio. Hello, gentlemen. Thank you for your time this afternoon. Okay, it looks like I'm not hearing somebody. You want to work on that for me so I can hear you. I do hear one of you, I believe is, okay. Can you hear me?
Hi. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so you...
Hello, I can also hear you.
Okay, you are Dan or Mark? Okay.
I'm Daniel.
Daniel, thank you for joining us this afternoon. And so, Mark, thank you as well. Daniel, let me start with you. Do tell us about your solution.
Hello?
Yes, Daniel, do tell us about your solution.
Okay, thank you. So, we at Ghana Climate Innovation Center support businesses which are involved in climate adaptation and mitigation. You would agree with me that currently, even with the sophistication we have, it becomes very difficult to predict the patterns of the weather. And that is something we all need to deal with, because if we don't do that, we'll get to a situation where our very livelihood will be challenged, and it will endanger the very species we find on planet Earth. So what we do is we look out for businesses which are involved in this space, and we support them through a World Bank funded project to ensure that they are sustainable, they are scalable, and they scale to ensure that matter and climate thrives.
The electoral process in upholding the democratic governance, national peace, security and development, Kodeo is urging all election stakeholders, particularly political party leaders and supporters, to utilize legal and peaceful processes to seek redress to the grievances. So they're looking forward to legal and peaceful processes to protest this matter. We're joined now by National Coordinator of Kodeo, Albert Kofi Ahin, for more. Mr. Ahin, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. You don't seem very enthused about the EC's insistence on going on with this, even though the CI has already matured.
Yeah, the CI has matured. Let me begin by saying that Kodeo is not against the compilation of a new voters register.
Okay.
And neither are we saying that, but the problem actually is that we would want a lot of people to participate in this process. So Kodeo's stand is that from past experience that we have seen, going to the field, we have noticed that the guarantor system is abused, or always abused. You go to the field and you find political parties with contractors going around in bars, or maybe in a pickup, and they move from registration center to registration center, guaranteeing for people. The originators of this idea, had in mind that, if, for example, my mother has lost a card or doesn't have it, I can lead my mother or my sister to the police center and vouch for her. That is the original idea. But this has been defeated, because from past experience, you find everybody from anywhere guaranteeing for other people. So Kodio is saying that this system, once again, could be abused. And more so by the fact that now you can even guarantee for about 10 people. You see, so what we are saying is that, yes, people don't have the NIA cards, they don't have the passports, so we need to be very careful so that we can have a lot of people participating in the process. If you go to the villages, how many people have passports in the village? It's only when you have the intention to travel that you might want to possess a pass. As regards the NIA card, as I'm speaking to you now, I don't have one. And nobody in my household has one because we tried and tried and tried and we couldn't get it. You see, so I can foresee, or Kodio sees that in other areas it could be the same.
I don't have one either, but I wanted to find out, Mr. Ahin, whether you have engaged the Electoral Commission on these your concern and what response you got.
We even sent this letter to them before we sent it to the public.
What response did you get?
Not yet. Not yet. But of course, we have been given indications earlier on, So this has gone, and it's so sad that, Parliament has passed the CI 126. Otherwise, this thing should be looked at. Even now, we are still urgent that there should be a second look taken at this particular problem. See, because we are saying that if we are not careful as a nation, we might have problems at the various registration centers. People are going to be disillusioned. People are going to have to challenge people who are being vouched for, and there can be a recipe for disaster. And that is why we are saying this. You see, as I was saying to some people this morning, the law has been passed, yes. But the effect is what we are talking about. The effect, the outcome of it.
Mr. Ahin, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Albert Ahin is a national coordinator for CODEO. That's a coalition of domestic election observers. They're not. They say that they've reached out to the Electoral Commission. They are asking that the existing voter ID cards be added to the list of documents accepted for re-registration. This will be it for us for today. There's more news at myjoyonline.com. If you do, log on. It's a pleasure, always a pleasure coming your way. Many thanks for your time.